Hi guys, it's me, co-host of the Sim Podcast. You know what you ask and sometimes you say, hey, do you guys ever do NBA? Well, funny you should ask because we actually do have a podcast dedicated to the NBA. It's called Chasing Cnotes, the podcast. We do have a YouTube channel. I'll do the link down below. We talk about mostly the Boston Celtics, so it's kind of biased, but we do talk about the NBA. So, without further ado, let's start the show.
Shut your mouth, broadcasting. First round draft pick. Believe we got stats, kid. Quarterback sacking. 100-yard dashing. So tap in for the action. What teams got traction?
Welcome to the Sim Podcast Show. I'm your co-host, Eric, and I'm always joined by my co-host, Ron. What up, Ron?
What's going on?
You know what we do? We talk about the National Football League on a weekly basis, including the playoffs. Ron, we just had the Divisional playoffs last week, and now the Final Four. How are you feeling about this group?
Good, man. I like these four teams. I think, they've earned it. These are the teams I kind of was expecting to be here down the stretch. I'm expecting a good weekend and a good, Super Bowl matchup, whoever, wins this week.
Yeah, this is it. This is the college version of our Final Four. This is the Super Sunday, because I think we have the Super Bowl Sunday, but I feel like this is it. This is the Final Four. This is the best teams that, the land has to offer. So we're going to do NFL news. We're going to do our divisional predictions real quick. We're going to recap, and then we're going to go into the conference championship. But first, let's dive into NFL news real quick. Because, Ron, we were talking about last week how there wasn't enough hiring going on. And then this week, there was plenty of hires. So let's start off with the Harbaugh finally going to the LA Chargers. Is this going to be a good fit, Ron?
Yeah. You got Harbaugh as a very good coach, right? Some would say he's going to be immediately one of the top 5 best coaches in the NFL, once he starts working on the team. But he got, a top, 6 or 7 quarterback and one of the top tackles in the league. So he's got a lot of talent on that team. There's some older players and there's some financial issues. I think that team is going to be over the cap. They're going to have to make some difficult choices, but it's a good opportunity for him. I think it's a good team for him. Good matchup. So I expect good things these next few years from him.
Yeah, I'm very happy for Chargers fans because they finally got, I wouldn't say that the other coach was not a real coach, but he made a lot of mistakes. He was better off as a coordinator than a coach. But I think that this, it's a good marriage. You have a good quarterback. They're already talking about he might be a top 5. They, a defense he might shape up into make it better. So yeah, I think this is a, good hire by them. The other hire is Raheem Morris to Atlanta.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Another great coach, another great hire. I think Raheem Morris is probably one of the better coaches out there that didn't have a head coaching job. So I think, and I don't know if they have a GM just yet, but, I think if they stick with him for a few years, they got to figure out the quarterback situation. So it's a much different situation than Harbaugh is. It's going to take a little bit longer until they can find their franchise guy. But he has a good team, good running games, 2 good running backs, some young weapons, receiver and a tight end with Pitts. So he has a lot, to work with there too. So I think it's a good hire for Atlanta.
Why do you think they passed on Bill?
I don't know. He had 2 interviews. Was it 1 or 2?
Well, he had 2 interviews. The second one was more like a night out with the owner, kind of. So I don't know, maybe maybe the owner wanted him, but not the front office. I don't know. It's a weird relationship there.
So remember when we spoke about this last week about, it doesn't matter what your resume looks like. You still need to meet with the coach to figure out what their plan is. I don't know if Bill has a good plan or, was able to articulate it as far as what's going to happen with your coordinators, offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Who are you bringing in? What's your plan for the team? I don't know if he had a good plan because the last couple of years, right, you can see that the team, the Patriots specifically, was heading in the wrong direction. And when it came to roster building, coordinating, those are the areas that he failed at. So, and who's to say that they didn't go after Bill and Bill just turned him down too? So, you just don't know. But I think this is a better, I think in the long term, this is going to be a better fit for Atlanta than going after Bill.
I mean, it's good for Morris because I feel like he's definitely earned it. But until they figure out the whole QB thing, I'm not gonna praise Atlanta yet. I think that they're in the right direction, but get the QB stuff figured out. The other hire is Canales to Carolina. He used to be the Bucks coach. He's super young. Is this gonna work out in Carolina?
We'll see. So I think what was he? The offensive coordinator for the Bucks?
Yeah, he was the offensive coordinator.
So, and that's where Carolina struggled, right? So you got a rookie quarterback this past year, going into the second year next year, didn't perform well at all. They don't have a lot of weapons, period, around him. So they're gonna have to build that team up, and then they have to find an identity. What are they going to be from an offensive standpoint? The team struggled to score points. Hopefully, he can go there and turn things around. I know he already said that he's going to be the one calling plays offensively, which is a good thing. But we'll see. We'll see how that turns out.
I know that he's young, so he's probably not gonna, he's not gonna be there forever. But would you want to work for David Tepper? After he went to 3 people,
I know, too much turmoil,
and he threw a drink at a fan.
Yeah. Listen, he's passionate. He wants to win. I get it. No sort of stability there in that organization. Probably not a lot of the wrong decisions in terms of personnel. Because didn't they have a chance to get Stroud instead? Oh, did they want Stroud? They probably wanted Stroud, right? Man,
No, they moved up. They moved up in the draft, and they still. Was Stroud 1 or 2?
He was 1, and then Young was 2. But either way, when you have those early picks, you can't miss on them. And I'm not saying Bryce Young is a miss just yet. He's still young. But there were a lot of question marks about him to begin with, his size especially. And he didn't perform well at all this season. But, like I said, they need to surround him with some more talent. And I don't know as far as what the direction was, what kind of team they were going to be. I don't know if that was clear. And I think, coaching had a lot to do with that. So hopefully he can go in there and make a change to their culture.
Yeah, definitely the culture change is needed there. And to me, you have 2 new coaches in Atlanta and Carolina, and then you have, Dennis Allen in New Orleans, and then you have, Todd Bowles. So maybe this is a positive for Todd Bowles. I don't know. Losing Canales is just, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how that happens. The other news, Ron, is this one was under the radar. We didn't even know until we started recording. Callahan to Tennessee. Apparently, the hire happened a couple of days ago. I'm not familiar with Brian Callahan that much.
So Cincinnati OC.
Okay.
So worked with Joe Burrow, and he did some great things, obviously. So probably a good, it's good for him. He deserves it, right? You work your way up. For him, I think he lucked out. I don't want to say he lucked out and he doesn't have talent, but when you're in a situation like Cincinnati was, and you have like that guy at quarterback, things become easier. And especially if you have weapons like he did and like Cincinnati does. So, but, we'll see. We'll see. Tennessee, he's going to be working with Will Levis. He's going into a second year too. Lots of talent, strong arm, but lots of issues. He's no Joe Burrow, right? He has to fix something, especially with his accuracy. So we'll see how it works out for him. I don't know what other coaches they brought in, but that's another team that's kind of in a transition too. With Derrick Henry most likely leaving, they got some older players too. So we'll see.
So right now, only the Seattle job is open. Oh, in the Washington. Mm-hmm. Sorry, in the Washington. So Vrabel, Belichick still out there. So if for some reason nobody hires either of those guys, are they just gonna take a year off football, or are they gonna coach somewhere, like Peyton did, and just go back to high school coaching? I don't know. It's like, why aren't these two guys getting jobs? Because one was coach of the year, one has 6 Super Bowl titles. He has 8 because he was a coordinator with the Giants. So what is going on? Why are they passing on these guys?
I don't know. I can see why with Bill, that you might pass his age, right? And then those questions about what's his plan. Vrabel, on the other hand, I don't understand that at all. Like, he's young. He has lots of experience. Being an athlete, being an actual football player and coaching. He's developed players. He comes from, a good system. So I don't know. I think a little surprised that he still hasn't found a job yet, but wouldn't shock me if he lands with one of those jobs.
Well, the rumor mill is that Andy Reid is going to be retiring soon, possibly after this playoff run. So that might be a job that will become available. And then the other rumor is that McDermott might be out in Buffalo. Now, those are rumors. I haven't seen any smoke to confirm that, but those are the rumors. So
yeah. And I told you about McDermott, right? Because listen, and I didn't know this. Kansas City, this is their 6th year in a row being in the conference finals. 6 years in a row. Which is an unbelievable accomplishment, right? So, but that means Buffalo, your time you've had your time. Where do you go from here? Because you're supposed to be at your peak right now. And a lot of people would say you're underperforming if you're not getting to the Super Bowl. Same thing I say about Tomlin is the same thing they're saying about McDermott. So, I'm not all that surprised.
Yeah, and then I saw a video where it wasn't a video. It was just somebody commented that if Buffalo would have not, this was back in 2018, 2017, if Buffalo had not traded their pick to Kansas City, Patrick Mahomes would have never been drafted. So basically, they gave Patrick Mahomes to Kansas City, and look what's happened. The dude is unstoppable. So let's talk about what's going on with our teams, Ron, because the offseason started obviously because there was no playoffs for the Pats, and 2, Steelers are 1 and out. So what's going on with the Steelers? Are they all set, or are they still shuffling cards?
Yeah, so offensively, we're still looking for an offensive coordinator. We're looking externally, which is a good thing, right? We're not hiring from within. Because of that, we lost our quarterback coach. I forgot where he's going, but he is at least been interviewing for some OC positions. So it looks like, he's gone. So still got our running back coach. We are still looking for an OC, excuse me. We brought in a couple of guys. Robinson from he was the OC for the Rams. Cliff Kingsbury. He's been in for an interview. And then the guy, interestingly, from Carolina. So Tomlin's supposed to be looking for someone with play calling experience in the NFL. And obviously someone who can develop a quarterback too. So we'll see. I think they'll make a decision, probably interview a couple more people, but we're probably not looking for them to make a decision until after the Senior Bowl, like right before the draft or something like that. So we still got some time. But that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, with the Pats, it's so early right now. They don't have an offensive coordinator. They don't have a defense coordinator. They don't have a GM. I feel like they're peppering Mayo with all these questions that other people should be handling it, but because they don't have titles, they don't, it's just basically so early in the game that, and like you said, that they're still interviewing people. I know they're moving in the right direction. They're interviewing young guys, people that are, have young ideas. So they're moving in the right direction. It's just taking so much time. But hey, take all the time that you want. Listen, get it right the first time.
Right.
And
then,
yeah.
It's a big investment, right?
It's a big investment. So let's quickly recap the divisional games because, Ron, you went 4-0 in this division of games. And let's start with Houston at Baltimore. You predicted the game to be 27-16 Baltimore. I had Baltimore 24-17. The final score was 34-10. Ron, I know that the first half the game was tied 10-10, but really Baltimore kind of dominated.
They did. I think so. The first half, they came out sluggish. They came out like a team that hasn't played in 3 weeks, and that's because their starters, for the most part, on offense hadn't played in 3 weeks, right? They had the bye, then they took week 18 off. So, it took a little bit for them to get into a groove, but once they did, you saw what the difference is between those two teams. No disrespect to Stroud, all the good things that he's done for Houston, but Baltimore is on a mission, and has been on a mission. And they've been the best team in the NFL, I think, for the entire season. So, I'm not surprised. It was a 9-point spread. They ended up winning by 24. Not overly surprised at all.
Yeah, this was, it was definitely a two-halves game, but then in the second half, it was all Baltimore. And like you said, mostly they kept Houston, corral most of the game. It's not like Stroud did anything. It's not like even the running backs did anything. It was basically them dominating. So,
you think Lamar locked up MVP at this point?
I mean, I just saw that he's one of the finalists. And I saw that it was him, McCaffrey, and I don't know who was the other guy, but I was just like, if he's gonna be between a running back and a QB, it should be Lamar's trophy. Shouldn't even matter. But it is the NFL, so who knows? The next game that we had on the docket was Green Bay at San Francisco. Ron, you had 49ers winning 31-14. I had them winning 31-10. Final score was 24-21. And this wasn't an easy game for San Francisco at all, right?
No. Listen, Green Bay played a heck of a lot better than I thought they were going to play. So, big up to like Jordan Love and the game that he had for the most part. Now, when it mattered at the very end, they had a chance to go down and, win the game or tie the game at the very least. And he turns the ball over at the end. So you can't have that pick when there was plenty of time left. It was a horrible throw at the end of the game. But San Francisco, I think they got a little bit lucky. I'm not going to lie. Now it helps. Well, it hurts that they don't have, what's his name? Playing.
Samuels?
Yeah. So that's a big, hit that they took. But, Green Bay showed up. They were a good team. They were legit. They just fell a little bit short.
Yeah, and I saw the highlights for this game, and I was more concerned with the 49ers defense. I don't know what happened. I thought they were going to be more dominant. I mean, I know that they got Jordan Love at the end, but still, I was just like, I know that when you have that bye week, you're kind of a little bit rusty, but guys, you were a good defense all year long, and all of a sudden I don't know if it was part of it was Green Bay, but part of it was like, hey guys, you need to dominate. I mean, they didn't have any sacks during the whole entire game, which was a little bit concerning to me, especially when you have Young, Bosa, and then you have pretty good linebackers, right? So I don't know what Kyle Shanahan was doing during that game, but they took care of business basically. So I can't fault them to that. All right, this is where the spreads get a little bit tighter, and these are the games from Sunday. Tampa Bay at Detroit. Ron, you had Detroit winning 31-17. I had Detroit losing 14-17. Final score was 23-31. Ron, what were you so impressed about Detroit during this game?
I thought, that I still think like offensively, Detroit has probably the best personnel in the entire NFL between the quarterback, the running backs, and then their receivers, including their tight end. That unit is just incredible, and they can put up points in a hurry. So that's what they've been riding. They're riding their offense. The defense still has some question marks, but I'm high on Detroit. I've been high on them for a while. Now Tampa surprised me. I was not expecting them to keep the game so close, and Tampa's another team. They had the game at the end. Baker had a chance at the end, but he throws a pick as well. So kudos to them, right? They may have found their quarterback for next year. Now Baker's not under contract, so they got to work to sign him. But for a team that no one really expected to get this far, Tampa, you got to give them some credit for staying in this game. Because Detroit, I thought they were going to win easily, and that didn't happen. It was a close game.
I actually, Baker Mayfield, sometimes he's a great quarterback, sometimes he's not a good quarterback. And I feel like he's still kind of putting together, like he has the skills. I mean, 349 yards, it's not too shabby, but it was against Detroit defense. So, what to make of it, I don't know. I just feel like I want to see more from the Lions. The offense is great, but I want them to be a lockdown defense. And when we talk about the conference championships, I want to see, and we'll talk about defenses. Who has the best defense in this 4-game championship? Ron, let's move on to the next game. Kansas City at Buffalo. The spread was 2.5. You had Kansas City winning 24-21. Had Buffalo winning 24-21. Final score was 27-24. I mean, I watched this game, and there was some game management questions that I have for McDermott. Going for it on that fake punt, probably my number one. Because to me, it was like, wait, you're inside, you're on your side of the field. Why go for it? The other question I have is, why did he go for the tie when you could have easily, it was 4th and 2. something like that. I mean, that was my only question. Like, if I was in Buffalo, a Buffalo fan, I'd be like, what was the point of making you knew Kansas City, didn't have the weapons that they normally would have in the over the year. So why take the chances? What do you think about Buffalo and McDermott taking all these chances?
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch this game live. I saw a lot of the highlights. I thought this was going to be a close game. And I thought Kansas City would pull it off at the end. From what I understand, there was a lot of self-inflicted wounds. You talked about the fake punt that did backfired on them. I saw some drop passes too that didn't work as well. So listen, it's a team game, and a team, it takes a team to win. It takes a team to lose. So when you lose a game like this, you can point to a whole bunch of different issues, whether it be play calling, like you're saying, drop passes, just bad decisions and not executing. So this has been the Bills story for 4 years now, since Josh Allen's been there, right? They're a team that's always at the door. They're knocking at the door, but they can't break through. And here we are again talking about what could have been, what should have been, and what's going to happen next year, right? So I don't know what else to say. Good for Kansas City. They've been consistent. Like I said, 6 years straight is unbelievable. So, they're not a team that's going to be afraid to go into any other stadium, Buffalo, Baltimore. It doesn't matter where they play. They got, savvy veterans that have been there before and don't know how to close games out.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about, Kansas City and drafting Patrick Mahomes, but 2 out of the last 3 seasons, Buffalo's season has ended by the hands of Kansas City. The year before, it was Joe Burrows who did it, but they never have gotten to the AFC Conference Championship because they always, and when it comes to the divisional game, they always lose. So is it time for a change? I say yes.
I've said that the whole season, right? And you were telling me, no, I'm crazy to have McDermott on the hot seat, but like, what else can you do? You fired the OC at this point, right? And I know you've lost some people, in the years past, like you lost your OC before that, your DC or whatever. You lost some players to injuries and stuff like that. But, at some point you got to say, you had your opportunity, your window was there and you missed it. So,
yeah, I mean, at this point, you're running out of excuses, right? You're like, why did you not make it to at least the conference championship? Now you have to explain to the owners what happened, why, you're making your life more complicated than it should be. But this is, I guess this is what happens when you're a NFL head coach. So Ron, let's talk about conference championship because we have 4 games. We have 2 games on the docket Sunday. And let's start with the first game, Kansas City at Baltimore. This is a 3.5 spread. 44.5 is the over and under. Ron, what's your prediction?
Listen, I said Baltimore is on a mission. Beginning of the season, I said I had Baltimore as my team to get in the Super Bowl. I'm not backing off of that. I think Baltimore is going to close it out and get into the Super Bowl. I got them winning 27-21. And honestly, if I'm being honest and I compare these 2 teams, I think Baltimore by far is the better team. I think Mahomes will keep the game close and keep the game interesting. 27-21 is what I have. I think potentially can get worse than that, but I think Mahomes is too great of a player to let it get completely out of hand.
I was going to go with Baltimore as my pick, and then I switched to Kansas City. So I have them winning 17-14. I picked Kansas City at the beginning of the year, and then I went to Buffalo because I was like, oh, Buffalo, they're on a streak. And then it just hit me. Out of 4 quarterbacks that are left, the one I trust the most is Patrick Mahomes. So I was like, why would I not pick him to make it to the Super Bowl? And then out of the 4 defenses that are left, yes, I like San Francisco, but I really love Baltimore defense. But then statistically, Kansas City has had a better defense, but I think it's because they haven't had as many, the competition has been a lot lower.
Right.
So I think that they go under that 44.5 is, to me, is a lot because you have 2 good defenses. I think this is going to be a really close game, and I have Kansas City pulling it out. And I didn't want this to happen because I basically tapped into my inner Aaron Rodgers conspiracy. And I was like, does the NFL really, really want Kansas City to win? And then I started thinking about the whole Taylor Swift. Now we get 2 weeks of Taylor Swift. And then I started thinking, and then I saw that tweet about who's the refs for that game. And I was like, wow, is this really happening? Like, is this going to come down to the refs making some kind of weird call and having the Kansas City Chiefs win the game? And I really hope that doesn't happen. But being that this is an entertainment business, I was like, wow, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at Baltimore. They're going to be like, oh, you didn't line up right. Oh, you called the timeout. The officials are going to be terrible for this game.
Well,
I'm just getting you prepared.
Yeah.
They're going to be terrible for this game.
Listen, Kansas City, Mahomes is a great player, one of the best quarterbacks ever. But there's nothing Kansas City can do that Baltimore doesn't match up well against. As good as Pacheco is running the ball, Baltimore's run defense is excellent. As good as Travis Kelce is, Baltimore's defense at covering tight ends and receivers are excellent. Their linebackers are unbelievable. And then Kansas City, we know they've had issues with their receivers all year. So, I don't see them all of a sudden being able to go out and, score at will against, Baltimore. And on the other hand, Baltimore offensively, they've just been consistent. They can run the ball, pass the ball. Lamar is, he can do either, right? He's not going to hit you for a bunch of deep plays, big plays, but he's going to nickel and dime you, and he's going to take the runs when it's there. And I don't think Kansas City's going to have an answer for that. No team has had an answer for that. You've seen what they've done last week, right? You've seen what they've done to San Francisco, right? Baltimore is for real. It doesn't matter who they play. They are laying the smackdown on teams that are supposed to be really good and have really good defenses.
Everything you said about Baltimore is correct. Everything you said about correct. But when it comes to Kansas City, you can throw all that out because Kansas City evolved into this 2 tight end, we're going to run the ball all the time kind of offense. And
well, they had no choice.
Yeah,
right?
they're winning though. They're in the conference championship.
They're winning because Mahomes is that good, right? And he can, when it's time to pass, when you need to make a play, that's the quarterback you want. There's no disputing that. But I don't think they'll be able to rely on the run against Baltimore's run defense. It's just not going to happen. You can't run like that against Baltimore. So that's going to be the difference, I think, in this game. And like I said, I have 27-21. I can see this being, getting to 10 plus points. And
Baltimore?
Yeah, Baltimore winning by 10 or more.
Yeah, we'll see for sure Sunday. The next game, Detroit at San Francisco. San Francisco has a 7-point spread. 50.5 is the over and under. Ron, what's your prediction?
Yeah, so we got to see what's happening with Debo. I don't know if he's going to play or not. It seems like, I don't know if he was back at practice. I don't think he was at practice today. I got Detroit winning. I've been on Detroit for the last 3-4 weeks or so. I just think there's something magical, if you will, about the Lions. And this is a tough matchup, don't get me wrong. However, like I said, at the beginning of the playoffs, the Rams were the biggest matchup for Detroit. If they got past the Rams, which they did, I think they'll make it to the Super Bowl. So not changing my mind here. I think offensively, they got too much for San Francisco. Like you said, where was San Francisco's defense last week? They didn't really show up. They're going to have to play a lot better. Detroit can do everything. They can run. They can pass. It's going to be tougher on the road for sure. But, I think Goff will get it done. I got them winning 24-21.
I don't like, I haven't picked Detroit through any of these playoff rounds because I just don't like their defense. Now, having said that, they're not playing in the Silverdome or whatever, the Ford Field. They're playing on the road, but this offense can also score on the road. So this is going to be a good, interesting game. I have San Francisco winning 21-14. I think last week was a wake-up call. And to be honest with you, Matt LaFleur and Dan Campbell, it's not the same when it comes to offense. And Ben Johnson is a coordinator, so he makes most of the calls. I just feel like Kyle Shanahan is going to have San Francisco ready for this game. I think that, the offense is going to be Ben Johnson's offense versus Kyle Shanahan's offense. So I can see, even if Samuel plays or doesn't play, there's enough weapons for San Francisco. You got McCaffrey, you got Kittles, you got the other receiver, Ayuk. So I feel like, yes, they might just barely go into that over and under, but I do see a lot of points, but defense ultimately is going to win this game.
Yeah. Listen, Detroit is going to, in order to get to the Super Bowl, they're going to have to play defense. They're going to have to step up. Aiden Hutchinson, he didn't do much this past week. He has to step up. And I know it's a lot to ask for a rookie. He has to step up. You got to get some pressure on. Purdy's not the same player, when you get some pressure in his face. Now, he can play out of the pocket. He's a dangerous player when he's out of the pocket because he can make throws. So you got to get pressure and you got to keep him in the pocket. You got to, get to him. So,
out of all the four quarterbacks, he's probably the weaker one because he has less experience and he's a second year, right?
Second year.
So, Purdy has to not play out of his mind, but not make mistakes.
Yeah.
Be like a true game manager, right?
Yep. And I think he can do that. Listen, I think that they have a chance to win. They're favored, right? Yeah, they're favored by 7. Yeah, so I just think Detroit's on a mission. I like the energy coming from them. I think that, like I said, there's something magical. And I think, as good as San Francisco defense has been this season, Detroit offensively is just clicking on all cylinders. They can beat you. You've seen that tight end is ridiculous. We could talk all day about how good Kelsey is, but Detroit's rookie tight end is just amazing. Their receiver is amazing. Their running backs, the 1-2 punch, unbelievable. I don't know if San Francisco has all the answers to shut all of them down. So let's see.
Yeah, this is gonna be really good. This is probably like we don't agree on any of these games. We think the opposite of the other team. So this should be really good. I still think that that Lamar is gonna show up for this game. It's not, because a lot of people are saying, well, this is his first time in a championship, but he wants it. This is what he wants. So, he's like, what's this say? Like, he's the aura is asking for, like, oh, I want the show. I want to burden the shoulders with this game. So this is gonna be excellent, excellent weekend.
Yeah.
Excellent Sunday. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah. So, hey, I just want to see good football this Sunday. Ron, what do you have to say to our listeners out there, and our viewers on YouTube?
Listen, enjoy the games this weekend. It's going to be great. Football's winding down after this week. You got the Pro Bowl next week. And then the Super Bowl. So, and then that's it. That's all she wrote, right, for the season. We're straight into off-season mode for all teams. But enjoy the games these last 3 weeks. Let's hope that we get some exciting, close games, this week and then the Super Bowl week, and keep the season going.
Yeah, let's keep the season going, and then we're gonna have the Super Bowl. Then we have the short break, and I think free agency is before the draft, right?
Yeah.
So when we do our draft show, we're gonna have so much new stuff, good stuff, hopefully by the time that we do that show. And then we do, what do? We normally do a pre-draft and then we do an after draft, right?
Yeah. So free agency is big. So before the draft, we'll do, we could do a show and talk a lot about the free agency moves that has happened up to that point. And then we can kind of talk through like the draft, what we expect from our teams. And, it's going to be big, right? The draft's going to be huge for the Patriots, especially, right? By then we'll both have answers who our coordinators are, I would imagine. I would imagine. Hopefully. So, yeah, Patriots will be picking a quarterback. We'll see who that is. We'll see if anything happens between, free agency and trades and all that stuff before we get there. So, but before we get there, still some football left. So let's enjoy these next few weeks.
Enjoy the football. Enjoy the Taylor Swift's cutaways. Actually, when I saw that Taylor Swift cutaway, and then I saw Kelsey, one of the Kelsey brothers, with his shirt off, I was like, okay, now you know what the NFL is about. Now you know what Buffalo is about.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it ends this week, hopefully. I think, I want Lamar to get his. I think he's deserved it. This, if he gets MVP, it'll be his second one. But he deserves a Super Bowl big, win too. I think he's worked hard. I think he's been underestimated his whole career. I think people have, shit on him. I don't know how else to put it. Or, as a quarterback. I think he's always been a good passer, and now I think he's getting to show that he can do it.
Yeah, he definitely needs to be in the Super Bowl, because I feel like you said it right. Like, people don't want to give him the respect, but I think that if you in the Super Bowl and you actually win the Super Bowl, you get all the respect, you get all the smoke, you get all the articles about you and all that stuff. But listen, yes, Lamar works hard, but he hasn't won. He hasn't won the big one. So
not the big one. Not yet.
He hasn't won the big one. So yes, people are going to shit on you until you actually go over the hump. That's the way it works.
Well, it's one thing it's just the disrespect about him not being elite, good enough quarterback. And just even when he came out, people saying, oh, you should switch to receiver, and that foolishness, right? They wouldn't have said that if he was a white player, for sure. But to try to get him to switch to receiver, and saying he wasn't good enough, that's foolishness. And those folks who made those proclamations, they have no idea what they're talking about.
I mean, I think that he has a lot of roads or a lot of obstacles to where he at, but listen, hey, keep those receipts and then cash them in when you actually win it all. So join us next week. We'll do the I don't know what we're gonna do, because there's like the Pro Bowl.
We'll have a break.
Yeah, we'll have a break. We'll fill something up. I'm sure something will come up and we'll talk about it. So, and then, well, we have the Pro Bowl, and then we'll do the Super Bowl preview,
right? And
then you'll hear what our Super Bowl picks, and then we'll go from there. So until then, I say peace.
Hey guys, thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any questions or comments, feel free to hit us up on shutyourmouthpodcast@gmail.com. That's shutympodcast@gmail.com. You can also hit us on Twitter or on Instagram, at SYM Podcast. Thanks again.